So if you're born in the year of the rat, now that's the first star that you'll be looking at. For this year, you do have one of the best stars, that is the sun. Now for the sun, in ancient times, they call this one of the best top stars in one of your parts of the chart methodology. So what does the sun really provide to you? First and foremost, it provides a lot of assistance. You do get a lot of support, and in ancient times, you do call these people noblemen, right? So now understand one key fact. Now even that you're given the sun, right, what it all does for you is to provide you with more opportunities. So you're just going to sit down there for the whole year and expect that you're just going to strike more lottery without doing much things. Understand that that's not going to happen, right? So you need to first understand that in the 八字 methodology, there's always the lineage of heaven, man, earth. So the man always talks about you taking actions. It just means that if you have the sun in the chart for this year, you would like to maximize all your opportunities, go out, start something, get into a new business, start some social marketing, and this is where you start to see all the things that's coming for you, right? So of course you do have some of the little bit inauspicious stars, just like in every sign, in every animal sign, you do get a bit of this and that, but this is something for what I'll give you a bit of mini advice, so you try not to fret over this little thing. Now the first stars that we talk about here is you do get the sky emptiness stars. What this stars talks about is you may tend to isolate yourself in the upcoming year. So what this tries to tell you is I would actually suggest you go out to meet more new people. Among them, you could probably forge new partnership, but don't isolate yourself from the crowd and then say that, you know, after work, I just want to go back home, I just don't want to do anything. And then that's what the stars will cause an uneasiness on your mood, and you're going to be feeling very low for the year. So the next stars that we'll be looking at, of course, you do get a bit of the unlucky chi. Again, the unlucky chi is triggered because of the sky emptiness stars, alright? So the unlucky chi talks about moodiness again, it talks about uneasiness. So that's one part that I want you to really manage. Remember that your mind is the biggest asset that you have. So if you are always going to insert negative thoughts into your mind, obviously the year is not going to turn out fantastic for you, right? So of course, few other stars that we look at is the year Shah, talks a bit more about some little obstacles when you're doing your work. Now understand that every part of the work that you do, failure is always a good thing to have. To me, being able to fail is the first step for you to see success. That's when you'll be able to trial and error to be able to see how you can make the year work for you. Of course, the last stars is always being frowned upon as we start to talk about this salty pool. Now in ancient times, whenever we talk about salty pool stars, it always thinks that you are bound to have an extramarital marriage, or that's some of the incidents that is always being frowned upon. Now I don't always take this as a bad star. It depends on your current marital status. Now if you are single, having the salty pool, that means that you do get some encounter with opposite sex, and you do have some new people coming up to your life. You can try to consider having them. So it's not all bad. But of course, if you are already married and you know you do get a bit of this salty pool star is activated for you, also means that your popularity with the opposite sex is going to increase. Now, of course, with that, I will tell you, no, steer away from the additional attention that you're receiving and focus onto your marriage, right? So you're born in the year of the ox. Now, as you can see from the chart here, it doesn't seem to have any prosperous stars here. So what does this mean? Now, I always say this, in the year like this where you don't get any prosperous stars, it just means that it's a year that you're likely to go through quite a bit of change. Here's the thing. Now, in humans' mindset, we always think that, you know, having change is bad because it brings you out of your comfort zone. Now, that's where I beg to differ, because simply for you to be attaining to a different path where you start to get great things in life, you need to begin with change, right? So just some of the little inauspicious stars that I would like you to pay a little bit attention on. So 2019 can still be a very great year for you. Now, first and foremost, you do have 4 inauspicious stars. Primarily, we do have the funeral stars. You do have your great Shah stars. You do have your flying lion. You do have also the leopard tail. Let's start with the funeral door. Now, the funeral door in the ancient times, when it starts to talk about these stars, is you get to visit a lot of funerals, or you get a lot of family members going to hospital and stuff like that. But in modern context, I always like to think that the funeral door today instead would prefer you to focus the emphasis on your health instead. It just means that it's probably you are going to go through a lot of sickness this year. So just pay more attention to your health, exercise, if you have not been picking up exercise for a long time. and of course watch whatever you're going with your diet and stuff like that. Now of course with the great stars, it just talks about excessive spending. So it could come out with a situation whereby you are not ready, or you could probably spend more than what you actually have. So all you have to do is just to watch, so at the end of the day you do have a surplus in your budget. So the flying lane talks about misfortune and disasters. So when usually you have this kind of stars, I usually tell all our students, you do have to be a bit more careful. The more dangerous stuff like bungee jumping or mountain climbing, or you're going to do some dangerous activities, I would just say this year, leave them out of your activities and your schedule. Now, of course, the last stars we talk about is the leopard tail stars. Of course, this just means that you can get into unnecessary conflict and argument, probably because you accidentally, step onto someone's territory, or someone just felt that you are doing too well, they get a bit red-eyed and stuff like that. So my take is this, right? Don't ever feed people who's going to backstab you attention, right? What they want to do at the end of the day is just to get your attention, to get you to get angry, and then you start to react on things. So if you face situation like this, the best thing is to walk away from this. So you're born in the year of the tiger. Now the first thing to note in 2019 is the tiger has some of the best stars that's upcoming. So first and foremost, we'll start with the moon. Now the moon always talks about you getting more help, more support. So the first thing is you need to first ask for help, and you shall receive the help that you receive. Now of course the moon being itself being an yin energy, the moon also talks about the help specifically coming from the ladies, right? So do keep a lookout for your female co-workers, for your female bosses, or your female suppliers or vendor. These are the people that will lend strength to you to make sure that you win in 2019. Now the next stars you actually look at is there's this Grand Duke combination. Now of course the combination talks about one thing, it just means that there's going to be a lot of partnership, right? So some of you, if you're in businesses, or if you're having your own career, you're thinking, should I venture out this year? Usually when you have this kind of combination and you do get a new additional partner that comes along, this is one of the best year for you to start something new. So understand this, even you have some of the best stars, you always have to go out and start something, right? Because what this give you is just opportunities, right? It just doesn't give you anything in excess. So with no action, you're just not going to get the results that you want. So of course, with all the prosperous stars, you do want to pay attention to some of the little tad bit of the inauspicious stars. So with that, you do look at, there's one stars we call the lonesome stars. So for the lonesome stars, what we're trying to say here is this year, there'll be certain times that you may isolate yourself from the crowd, or you could have been working too hard that you may have neglected your time spent with your family, and that's when that your family starts to talk about you not spending time, it gets a bit of conflict, and then you get isolated from them. So the key to this is quite simple. Learn when to work, when to have a break from your work, right? So that's one of the key points. So the Death God stars again talks about you working too hard at work, and you are always in OT and spending too much time in your work, and you start to neglect a bit of your health status. So I'll need you to watch that part for a bit. Just remember that you're just not going to go all out for money, and in life it's always all about balance, right? Okay, so the officer charm specifically look at one thing. It just means legal complication. So this year, if you're going to start anything new, you're going to sign a new contract, I will advise you to pay a bit more attention, look at it, study the terms and conditions to make sure that you are well protected within and you don't fall short later on when you have some of the legal document coming back to bite you, right? So of course the Hook Spirit stars technically means that this year you have to manage a bit with your co-workers, because in your work environment you do get certain situation, it gets a bit upsetting. So if you know how to manage a good relationship with your co-workers, everything can still come to an amicable solutions for you, right? So the piercing rope stars is one great part that you need to look at in terms of your expenses. That's one part you look at you not spending excessively, and that's something that you want to pay attention to. Of course, the last stars, the great assembly stars, just focus on you starting to neglect your health. So it just means that don't take anything lightly. So if you do have a flu that's upcoming, get proper medication, give yourself a good decent rest, and make sure that you recover well enough before you go back to work. So you're born in the year of the rabbit. So this is one of the best year upcoming for you. Now for Rabbit, this year we do have 3 very good prosperous stars. It starts with the general stars, the 3 stages, as well as the golden lock stars. Now with the general stars, what it actually tells us is that it's a lot of chance for you to get promoted at work, or you rise to a higher authority in whatever you're doing right now. So one of the key things is how do you really get there? It's you need to provide even more value to whatever you're doing right now. So you do have a lot of people that starts to pay attention to you and your level of work ethics. So looking at the general stars, this year you are bound to be going up the ladder, right? So the next good stars we look at is actually the 3 stages. Now the sun tie in Chinese is what you usually call in the ancient times, you do pass well in the imperial exams. So it does means that you do get some of the academic luck. So this is actually a very good stars for children. So if you're looking at the 3 stages. So not just that, for the adults, you do looking at fame and of course rising up the stats. Right? This is what the 3 stages talks about, the various different stages. Now understand this, all of this is not going to happen if you're not going to start anything new, right? So if you're just going to stay status quo, going 8 to 5 at work, you're not doing anything additional extra this year, it's very hard to activate these stars. The 3 stages always just means you taking the first steps to doing something new. So whether you are going to social marketing, you're going to Facebook, you're going to Instagram, you're going to start something new, all you have to do is to just take that first step, right? And you start to see the difference. So of course the golden lock stars this year, it's actually one of the wealth stars. In ancient times, when we look at the golden lock stars, it says that this year there's a tremendous amount of wealth and abundance for you. So this is one of very good stars if you are running a businesses right now. This tells you to start to think about expansion plan for 2019 and how you can make sure that 2019 has an abundance of wealth for you. Technically, the wealth stars being activated here is one of the best for 2019. So, of course, with some of the inauspicious stars we're going to run through this year, as you do get the 5 goals. Now, both the 5 goals and the year charm talks about one thing. You do have quite a bit of petty people, or we call them the backstabbers. So the mindset is always this: understand how the backstabbers is moving. They always try to do something, they want to attract your attention, and all you have to do is just to do something wrong, or you react back at them, you step onto the trap. So one very easy way is just to understand, because this is a time-based thing, they're not going to come at you throughout the year. So when things like petty people or some of the stuff that they're doing behind your back, do not feed them attention. Let them do whatever they want. So after a while, they start to walk away from you, or they start to find new target, right? So don't fall into the trap for the 5 goals, because technically, if you do anything that is illegal, you try to react back to them, it may even cause more gossip, argument, and even loss of wealth, right? So of course, the officer charm this year talks about legal, right? So if you're going to look through some of the legal documentation, make sure you're starting a new partnership, you're going to a new business, make sure all the terms and conditions is written properly to really protect your back. You don't want some of this to come back and bite you on later, right? So the officer charm does just that. Now the flying charm is also one of the part it talks about. There will be some of the taxes fines or legal fines that you'll be going through. So if you're just going to park your car, this and that, please make sure that you just put a parking coupon. So you're born in the year of the dragon. Now congratulations, because this year, for 2019, the dragon do have 3 auspicious stars. So let's have a look what are the 3 stars that's upcoming for you. First and foremost, you do have the money virtue stars. Now what this does really do is to create a lot of opportunities for you, and that you do get a lot of support from noblemen. Now, do remember, whatever good stars is coming your way, it always have to be equipped with some sort of actions. Things that you're not doing from your usual self, you're going to start something new, write something on your Facebook, or you're going to start a social media account and something like that, right? You just can't be expecting everything as status quo and doing nothing and expecting these opportunities to come by. So that's the first steps to take care of this. Now, the second stars talk about the red phoenix stars. Now, the red phoenix stars is one of the best stars, especially if you are really attached. You are thinking whether this year is a good year for you to get married. Now, this is one of the best years to go ahead. Now, of course, for the single out there, this red phoenix stars also potentially says that you do get a potential to meet someone that is serious, having on a serious relationship with you, and then that's one of the signs to look out for. But of course, first and foremost, you should actually go out and socialize in order for that person to appear. Now, the third stars that we're actually looking at is the pulling saddle. Now, the pulling saddle first talks about there will be a lot more opportunities that's coming from foreign land. So if you're given the opportunities from your boss or your companies to be able to work overseas, my suggestion is take up the offer and see what is in line for you. So do keep a watch out for any other overseas offer that's coming your way and try to maximize of it. Of course, there are some inauspicious stars that I just want you to be a bit careful of. Just keeping them in track will make sure that 2019 will be one of the fantastic year for you, Dragon people. So the first star is there is this Death Charm star. Now for the Death Charm star, it just means that you may have overworked for too long and you may have neglected your loved ones. So the Death Charm stars is always a timely reminder for us to tell us that we have to reconnect back with our family members, spend some quality time with them, and do understand that balance is the key to happiness. So of course you do have the Ing Star. Now the Ing Star specifically talks about there may be some people who may be going against you. In the ancient time we call this backstabbers, right? But you do understand that the Ing Star, the word Ing actually talks about female. So just be sure that you're not stepping onto somebody's toe accidentally with your female co-workers or your female superiors and stuff like that. So be a bit mindful and cautious of action. 2019 will definitely be one of good year for you. Right, for the last stars that you'll be looking at is the lesser consumer stars. If you do look at the lesser consumer stars, one of the first thing is it does talks about you may be spending unnecessary. So the keyword is actually to watch your budget prudently, right? So that's just to make sure that you do have a surplus at the end of the year. So you are born in the year of the snake. Now for the snake, this year in 2019, we do have some of the very good stars that's upcoming for you. First and foremost, you do have this stars that's called the month void. Now the month void is actually here to just tell you one thing. Anything that's bad cannot be too bad because the month void has the ability to halve all the inauspiciousness. So it just means that any bad event that's coming your way, it can't be too bad in the way that you're not expecting them to be. So with these stars, it's always keep you protected for the year ahead. So the second stars is you do look at here is you do get the sky horse. Now for the sky horse, it just tells you one thing. Horse always has a lot to do with traveling. It just means that you have to travel to a foreign place in order for more opportunities to appear. So if you're given opportunities for you to travel overseas to take out an overseas project, my advice is to just take it and see what's going to come your way. It's all going to come starting point from here. So of course you do get some of the inauspicious stars that you may just have to be a tad careful of. First and foremost, you do have the peeling head stars. Now the peeling head stars in the ancient times always talks about family member falling sick, and then you may have to pay a bit more attention to them. So continuously try to monitor their health status. If anything gets too out of control, make sure that you actually brought them through enough to the hospital for attention. So second is you do get the great consumer stars. So the great consumer stars is one of the stars. It says that a lot of money will be spent and you do have to be very, very prudent of your investment and stuff like that. So it doesn't mean that you can't invest at all. It just means that for anything that you want to put money in, just make sure you've done your homework properly. Now the great consumer stars also highlight that because there'll be a lot of effort that is lost due to improper planning, my advice is for you to plan first. Now, some of the stars that's upcoming is the Lankan. Now, if you look at Lankan, it's always talking about obstacles and hindrances that results with gossip and argument. So first and foremost, the solutions to this is very simple. Walk away from all this unnecessary drama in your life because they are not going to help. So when you walk away, and these are the stars that are just going to give you a bit of problems, a bit of uneasiness, but they are not going to affect you for the overall ahead. Okay, the last stars that you'll be looking at is this year breaker. Now, year breaker, it just means that whatever you plan for the year, somewhat along, it just seems to fall short a bit of your expectation. So the key is just very simple. Plan properly in advance. Just make sure that you do have a plan B if anything do not come out properly and you be safe and protected. So you are born in a year of the horse. Now for the horse, this year is going to be a fantastic year simply because you have 3 very good stars that's coming your way. First and foremost, you do have the first stars. That's what we call the Earth Dispel. Now, like what it says, Dispel is actually meant as a protection stars. It just meant that it will dispel any negative energy that's hitting your way, just to make sure at the end of the day, the outcome is actually what you intended. Now, second, you do have the Dragon Virtue stars. The Dragon Virtue stars is one of the top stars that we do have in one of the parts of methodology. Now, Dragon Virtue stars talks about authority, fame, as well as you rising in the higher ranks with social enhanced status, right? So if you're looking at the Dragon Virtue stars, technically if you are right now working for somebody, my advice to you is try to put in more value in whatever you're doing this year, so you will start to be noticed, and then of course more chance and opportunities will be heading your way. Now, for those that is running businesses, this is one of the best stars for you to be thinking about expansion, thinking about new plans to make sure that your business is going to flourish in 2019. Now, the third stars we actually look at is this stars, we call it the Emperor stars. Now, Emperor stars technically is one of the top 3 out of all the stars that we're looking at. Now, Emperor stars technically is a wealth stars. It is also at the same time a nobleman stars. Now, when I talk about all these wealth stars, it just means that you need to do something that is different from whatever you're doing right now. Because some of you would just be telling me that, you know, I only go to work every day, just 9 to 5. How am I going to activate these wealth stars? So technically, you need to look at different opportunities. If you need to start a sideline business, just go to the social networking and starts to write something, write a book, write a blog. So this year, the Emperor stars is going to land a lot of support from you. Remember, because there is a lot of noblemen coming your way, ask for help when you need them, and then you will be able to get the support from them. So there's just a 2 little very inauspicious stars is coming, but of course, there's nothing too great for you to worry about. First and foremost, you do have your dark sky stars. Now, in ancient time, the dark sky stars talks about you will always be plagued with spirit and stuff like that. And of course, it also talks about mental issues that cause uneasiness, anxiety, panic attack, and disorder. So my advice to you to counter these stars is very simple. Try not to go home too late at night. Avoid places like hospitals, graveyard, going to funerals, and you will not get any of those kind of spirit issues that we're going to talk about here. Secondly, of course, in order to distress yourself, my take is try to take out yoga, exercise, or go and learn something with different mentors. Do something you have not been doing this year just to make sure that you are lifting your spirit and your body to a different level. So of course, you do have the Great Defeat. Now, the Great Defeat is one of the stars. It talks about one thing: anger management. Because sometimes probably you're driving along the road and then you met with some obstacles and then some guy is pointing you some additional fingers and stuff like that, and then you react to a situation. That's when you will fall trapped to this Great Defeat stars. So the key word is this: when you find that you are getting very angry, do not do anything, walk away from the situation and then cool yourself down before you decide on something major. So you are born in the year of the goat. Now, first and foremost, you do see that in the year of the goat, there doesn't seem to be any prosperous stars. Now, what happened is this. Now, usually when you don't see any prosperous stars, it just means that the year is ready for you to go through some changes. Now, remember this, not all changes are bad, because sometimes changes is required to set you away from your comfort zone to go to doing something great, that's something you have not been doing for a long time. So the first and foremost to adopt to this is, I want you to have a very open mindset, be ready to learn something new, a new skill set, or rather can try to write a new book, read something, and in order to put yourself on a new path for 2019. So first and foremost, I just want you to make your life a bit easier by informing you how do you counter some of the inauspicious stars here. First and foremost, you do have the Great Shah stars. Now this just tells you that this year there may be a bit more in terms of excessive spending, so you should be very prudent of where your money and every single dollar and cent is going out. Make sure you keep a good record of them and you'll be able to avoid these stars coming to get you. Second, this stars always tells us gambling is not the way to get rich, right? So when you have this kind of stars, a lot of people will be losing their money through gambling. Usually during the Chinese New Year, they like to visit the casino. My take to you is this: instead of the casinos, tries to go to a place of for visiting attraction. That would be a much better choice for you. So of course you do get the Sky Crying stars. Now the Sky Crying stars is usually a much more emotional stars. It just means that this year you may go through a bit of emotional event. So the key to work around on this is quite simple. Whenever you're feeling down, don't let yourself in a very single place by yourself, isolated and lonesome. Just make sure that you make some phone calls to your friends, go out for coffee, just go and do something. So this stars is not going to be occupying or all of your time for 2019. Now, of course, the third stars that you want to be a bit careful is the White Tiger. Now, usually when we have the White Tiger, it just means that traveling becomes very accident prone. So if you're driving this year outside in a different country, my take is probably have someone to do the driving for you, and just be a bit more careful when you are traveling, and especially if you're doing some mountain hiking and stuff like that. My advice to you is probably put that for other years. So you do get the Sky Warrior stars. Now the Sky Warrior stars technically sometimes just means that you do get a bit of communication breakdown and stuff like that. So the keyword is just to make sure that you listen first, and then you'll be able to make things right for you. The last stars you have to be paying attention to is there's this Elegant Sail stars. Now for the Elegant Sail stars in ancient times, it just means that you'll be reduced to a place isolated, lonely, all by yourself. But usually the Elegant Sail stars has one more options to making it positive. One of the way is actually to do creation. That means to say probably you want to write a new blog, new book, set out a new blog, and stuff like that. So if you have the elegant silver stars, this year creation is the keyword for you, right? So you are born in the year of the monkey. Now, in the year of the monkey, there's some very good stars that's here to assist you for 2019. First and foremost, you do have these two very good stars, the fortune virtue stars, as well as the heavenly virtue stars. Now, these two stars, when combined together, brings one thing. You're going to get through a lot of powerful connection. You're going to start to know more new people, and you're going to get a lot of people that lend strength to you, that bring you to different places. So all of this can only be possible when you want that to happen. So remember this, if you're not going to do anything different from whatever you're doing right now, this kind of opportunities may not appear that easily. So the keyword is go out, meet more new people, go to networking parties, right? Just to make sure that you are exchanging your name cards with more people out there. And all these people is just going to come in and lend strength to you, right? So that's how you're going to make 2019 one of the best year forward for people that's born in the year of the monkey. Now, next thing is you do look at some of the inauspicious stars that can give you a little bit of problems along the way. So I'm going to just give you some advice how to really counter them. Now, first and foremost, you do have your crossing star, and as well as this Kertang stars. Now, both of these stars talks about one thing. Now, you're going to have some sort of external event that is possibly coming from gossip or rumor. You heard something that somebody says something nasty about you, whether it's from a co-workers or it's from someone that's from a close friend talking about your relationship with your spouse. So that is going to cause communication breakdown and relationship failure. So the key to react to this and to counter them is very easy. Just make sure anything that you're hearing, anything negative, make sure you verify the facts first before jumping to conclusion. And of course, don't overreact, because some of this energy is only caused by timeline base. That means after a while, this thing is not going to come in and affect you that much anymore. So second stars that you need to be a bit careful is this hem stars. It just means that there'll be a bit of uneasiness. Sometimes you're feeling moodiness and stuff like that. Now, in times like this, the best way is to go out, find a good friend, go for coffee, have a chat. Because sometimes you don't really need people to solve your problems, but probably just someone to listen to you. That's all, right? So the 6 hum stars just talks about you giving yourself a bit of mental punishment. You are pushing yourself too hard. You're thinking a lot of new things that is not coming your way. Things is not coming to fruition, and you are going to punish yourself for that. So the 6 hum stars in the past is what we call self-punishment stars. Now, for now, what we're going to try to counter this is very easy. Just make sure that, set enough expectation for the year for whatever things are supposed to come, but expect some failures along the way. That's perfectly fine. To me, failures is the first step for you to getting things done right? So the last stars that you'll be a bit more careful is the robbery star. Now, the robbery star says that there is some possibility of money being lost through probably poor investment projects or probably being scammed by other people. So you just have to be more prudent and careful with where are you putting your money out to people that you may not have encountered with. That's one of the ways to make sure that you do not lose your money, you get a surplus at the end of the year. So you are born in the year of the rooster. Now, congratulations, because in the year of the rooster, this year, you got one very good auspicious stars. This is what we call the 8 seeds. Now, in ancient times, the 8 seats are imperial seats that's taken out by high-ranking officers together with the king, right? So, in order to be given these stars to you, what this actually means is you do get increase of your enhanced social status. Now, this also makes sure that you start to know more new people, and among these new people, you'll be able to find new opportunities that starts to bring you more wealth and even promotion opportunities. So you need to be careful that, in order for you to take advantage of these stars, the first thing is you have to step out and start to meet more new people, because these are some of the new people that is going to make this happen for you. Now, for 2019, of course, we do get some of the inauspicious stars that's coming a bit in your way. I'm going to teach you some of the way to really counter them. First and foremost, you do have the calamity stars. It just means that some of the things that you are doing is going to be falling a bit short of expectation. Understand that it's actually perfectly fine to have a bit of failure and mistake along the way, and then tries to tidy them up, and then you'll be back on the run again, right? So the funeral guest stars, technically in the past talks about visiting funerals and stuff like that, but in modern context, you start to relate that it actually talks about your health status as well as your family health status. So this year, in case you falling sick more often than usual, so try to take out an exercise regime plan to make sure that your health is back on track, and of course eat properly, right? So the broken stars talks about communication breakdown that can arise. Now these stars will start to give you a bit of problems with communication problem with your spouse, your co-workers, as well as your superiors. So here's the key: just listen first before you communicate. That's how you overcome this problem. Now, of course, the sky dog technically talks about there could be some money that's loss of wealth through theft. So this is very simple solution. Just make sure that you have a secured place at your house at home, install CCTVs, and don't go to dark places, some of the alleys at night, just to make sure that you don't get robbed and stuff like that. Now, of course, you do get the barrier. Now, the barrier talks about legal problems that could arise. So just make sure that you actually read the fine terms and conditions to make sure that you are well protected before signing on the dotted line. So you are born in the year of the dog. Now, congratulations, because in the year of the dog, you do receive some of the double happiness. This is what we are looking at. Now, some of the good stars that's coming your way in 2019, first and foremost, you do have your sky happiness stars. The sky happiness in the past is always a marriage stars. So what this actually means is, for some of you who is already attached and thinking if this year is a good year to tie up the knots, now this is one of the best years to go ahead. Now, for some of you singles out there, fret not, because this stars also means that you may get to meet someone potential along the way. But of course, understand that what this stars is going to create is just opportunities. So if you're just going to stay at home, watch a TV, you are not going to meet anyone new, right? So you need to go out to socials party and try to find more new people and go to some of the networking party. This partner will appear. So of course, you do get your surpassing path stars. Now, what this stars actually does is it increases your social status. It starts to lend you a bit more support with noblemen. So it just means that this year, whatever help you're going to require, ask around and you'll be getting all the help that you'll be getting from them. This will just be making sure that 2019 will be a great year for you. So of course, for some of the inauspicious stars, you just be a bit more careful of. It's first and foremost, you do have your Heaven Star. Now, Heaven Star is a very simple star to counter. It just means that in your family members, you do get some disagreement with the seniors. Could be your dad or your mom. So what my take on this is this. Now, there cannot be any bad blood in the family, so agree to disagree on certain subjects and then live and let live. It's just very easy. So of course, the solitary stars also means that there will be some little conflict with family members, such that to the point that you isolated yourself and then tries to be lonely all by yourself. So what we can actually do is agree to disagree again, and of course try to improve your communication from time to time, and spend some time going for holidays is one of the best ways to counter these stars. Of course, the sickness stars just meant that sickness is just going to be a more frequent word that's going to appear up in your dictionary. So make sure that you take out an exercise regime or even join some yoga class to bring your health back on status. At the same time, do not try to ignore any of the potential health problems that might be arising and giving you some of the symptoms. Make sure that you seek medical attention. So the annual Shah stars just means that there is some arguments. As you can see, all these stars is all talking about arguments and conflict. So the keyword to countering this is, first and foremost, you do not make any decisions when you are very angry. Try to calm yourself down, walk off, and of course rethink of different solutions and come back and you go strong again. So the last star talks about the yellow flag stars. Now the yellow flag is always talking about injuries and accident prone. So just making sure that if you're traveling overseas, you're not doing anything dangerous. So those bungee jumping, mountain climbing, I would say this year, forget about it. So you're born in the year of the pig. Now, for people who's born in the year of pig, this year you do get to offend the grand due. In Chinese, we call fan tai sui. And usually for this year, a lot of people will start to become very worried because they think that a lot of bad things is going to happen to them. Fret not, because this year, simply you have two very good stars that's coming your way. First, you do have the relief god and the sky relief stars. Now, both is going to provide relief to you. It just means that anything that's going to be bad is going to be transformed into positive events. So with these two stars protecting you over the years, this year is not a year you need to be worried too much of. But of course, there's some inauspicious stars I just want you to pay a bit attention of, just to make sure 2019 can be one of your best year moving ahead. So one of the first stars is you do get this hidden cop stars. Now, hidden cop stars in the past is always talks about you should not travel at all. Now, of course, in these kind of times, it's very hard not to travel. I'll say that you can travel, but probably travel less. And if you are traveling, do try to tread with caution to make sure that you are not getting into accidents and stuff like that. The second stars you need to be a bit more careful is a blood knife. It just means that it subject you to more cuts and injuries. So if you're handling any dangerous object here and there, just be a bit more careful with them. Right? So the third stars is there's this sword edge. Now the sword edge, technically the sword always spirits of bonus and courageous. So what this does is it lets you become a bit too overconfident and then you loses your focus along the way. So my take is this: confident is good, but don't be too overconfident. Just make sure that you do enough planning on it before proceeding. Now, of course, the triple punishment stars talks about there will be certain conflict and argument with your family members. I always think this is not hard to resolve. Just try to give in to each other and then live and let live. Agree to disagree, right? So the earth killing stars meant that there's some obstacles and obstructions when it comes to planning your plan. Understand that it's always okay that some of the plans may not fall into plans, whatever you expected for 2019, that's perfectly fine, but you will reach your goal eventually. So one of the stars, that the instability stars that you need to focus on, also taught you that you may lose your focus along the way. So that part is not hard. If you have found yourself been working too hard, go for a holiday, recharge yourself, come back, and then feeling strong again. The last stars, the backstep stars, just means it's very easy. There will be some people out there who may not be too happy whatever you are doing right now. They may do something that try to gain your attention. Solutions and key to this is so easy. Just don't fall into the trap, don't react, and then after a while, it tries to find new target.